great friends and some of the true leaders in the voice industry. We've got Brandon Kaplan, Emerson Sklar, Heidi Culbertson, along with my co-host Ian. Super excited to chat with all of you, most importantly, really about whatever's on your mind. And with that, I think before we get to the introductions, I think Ian, maybe you can just tell everybody the format here about the recording so we can make that official and get that taken care of, and then we'll get to the introductions.
Fantastic. Well, everybody, welcome to the Happy Hour of Voice. We are broadcasting this and recording this. So you see the red icon up top. So we're using attn.live software to broadcast directly to voice devices like Amazon's Lexi device. So if you have a friend that's not on Clubhouse, but they'd like to listen to this conversation, they can just say to their Lexi device, open attn.live. It'll say what channel. They can say Happy Hour of Voice or Voice Den or Terry Fisher, and it'll open on up. We're also broadcasting to YouTube. So if you're on YouTube, you can search for attn.live, and our channel is live broadcasting right now. In addition to attn.live, I also broadcast the video so that I can do demos from time to time. So we're live all over the place right now, everybody. I just did a 10-minute AMA. So I'm not really going to dive into what we're doing, but I will say I'm happy to be here. It's great to be Terry's co-host. It's amazing to spend time with Brandon, Emerson, and Heidi, our amazing moderators. And it's so good to have our other friends like Roger, one of our past moderators a couple of times, one of our voice fluencers, Nigel and Emily, who have been so consistent being a part of this, and Adam, who we just got on the platform. So everybody follow Adam because he's somebody that when he speaks, I listen. And yay, here we are again, Terry, for another Voice Den. I'm so glad that we're here doing this together.
Fantastic. All right. The one other thing I want to mention is as promised, we have created some special NFT specifically for this session. And so if you go to thevoiceden.club, and you enter your name and email address, we can send you an NFT. And the secret code for today's event is Friday, because everybody loves a Friday. So just put in the word Friday and we are good to go. So that's at thevoiceden.club. Okay, now let's get to some fun discussions. I am sitting here. I just ran in from work and I have nothing that I'm drinking. But that's the most important question we're going to ask everybody is what you're drinking. And I have absolutely nothing and I'm feeling a little parched, to be honest. So I should probably go grab a glass of water in a second. But let's get to our special guests here. We'll just go in order here. So Brandon Kaplan is the founder of Skilled Creative, an award-winning voice agency. Had the pleasure of chatting with Brandon a number of times. He's been a voice influencer on the Voice Den, and Brandon's doing some amazing work, creative work with his agency. So, Brandon, it is wonderful to have you here. Why don't we give you the floor to introduce yourself and tell us what you're drinking as well.
Sure. Yeah. Nice to talk to you again, and good to meet a few new folks here and some old voice friends. Yeah, Brandon Kaplan. I am currently drinking a hot mint tea. That's a super exciting cocktail on a Friday. But some scotch later on tonight once I get to the bottle. Yeah, I'm Brandon Kaplan, the founder of Skilled Creative. We are, founded as an emerging technology creative agency based in New York City. We're now fully focused on voice technology. We're a full service voice agency working with some really cool brands like HBO, Warner Music Group, Nutella, Pottermore, the NBA, and a handful of other great partners. And we help them, explore voice technology, build out voice programs, make exciting products. And I'm kind of just a tech nerd at heart and think that voice technology is really exciting. So excited to work in it and happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Amazing, Brandon. Awesome. Great to have you here. Always great to connect with you. Next up, we have another one of our previous voice influencers, Emerson Sklar, Chief Evangelist at Bespoken and a gamer. And he's got his own online, almost like a reality talk show on Thursday mornings, I believe it is, Emerson. I know I've joined it a couple of times. And Emerson is, if I'm not mistaken, Emerson, I think you told me that you were a professional gamer in the past. Correct me if I'm wrong. So I want you to take a moment, introduce yourself, and tell us what you're drinking as well.
Sure, yeah. My name is Emerson Sklar. I'm the Chief Evangelist of Bespoken. I am drinking a black and tan right now. Yeah, so Bespoken, we do automated testing, training, and monitoring for voice, chat, any kind of conversational interface. We say if you can talk to it, we can test it. And I said this a little bit earlier, but if we like to say we can give your voice a rest. No longer do you have to go hoarse or blue in the face trying to see if your voice app is working. You can write a simple script and have robots talk to robots with a click of a button. And yeah, so I do have I host along with Bradley Metrock This Week in Voice Live, which is actually Fridays at 8 a.m. Pacific, and it's a 30-minute, very casual, informal video talk show. And used to be a semi-professional gamer. I still am an avid amateur gamer nowadays, but I spent a good portion of my early career spending way too much time playing first-person shooters. So they still have a very dear spot in my heart.
Awesome. Well, it's great to have you. Great to have you here, Emerson. Thanks so much for joining us. Always a pleasure to connect with you as well.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, we'll skip over you, Ian. We're going to go to Heidi, and Heidi's one of the true OGs here in the voice space. Whenever I get a chance to introduce Heidi, it's always like, Heidi and I have known each other for a couple of years, and I wonder if actually, Heidi, if you remember where we first met. I don't remember where we actually first met, but maybe you can remind me. But Heidi is an incredibly knowledgeable person in the voice space. I know she is a mentor to some as well, and just a truly a wealth of knowledge when it comes to voice. So Heidi, great to have you here.
Thank you, Terry. Very, very kind words. I don't remember where we first met. I know we spoke before we actually met in person. So it might have been at the original Voice Summit in 2018. I don't remember though. Anyway.
It probably was.
I'm Heidi Culbertson. I am the founder of Marvi, which is a company I started in early 2016. To build voice experiences specifically for the over 50 population, from the incredibly athletic 85-year-olds to the partially assisted. Have since taken an exit from the company. We'll be starting a new adventure soon. And love voice, love the value it brings. I always say it's not about the technology, it's about the value it enables. But happy to be here tonight. Thanks for having me.
Fantastic, Heidi. And I'd love to hear from all the other people here as well. We'd like to give them a chance to introduce themselves. But if we have time, I'd love to come back and hear a little bit more about your recent news, because that's big news. Ian, do you want to jump in here and give an introduction to yourself, and then we can...
Nope, let's jump to Nigel.
On the stage.
I got plenty of time.
Let's do it.
But if you want to swipe down, you'll see the NFT that we've created in silver for everybody here. And so if you swipe down your screen, you'll see my face change to this NFT. And we have gold ones we've created for the moderators and silver ones for everybody here. You just have to go to thevoiceden.club, thevoiceden.club, so that we can send it to you. Nigel, unmute yourself and tell all the party people here who you are and what you're all about.
Yes, indeed. Happy Friday, everybody. I'm so happy to be here. And for the first time, I'm not drinking tea or water. So it's rum and Coke. I'm feeling a little Cuban today. So
all right.
And making it happen. So yeah. So that's the first thing. I'm a gratitude champion. I'm just always happy to be here, live life in that state all the time. Love voice. I think there is no better, more authentic way of people connecting. And I value you all so much for being so generous with your time and your knowledge. Appreciate you. Thank you for having me and letting me speak. I'm done talking. I'm Nigel Wright.
Awesome. Nigel, good to see you again. Good to hear you again. It's Terry here. I'm trying to get in the habit of remembering to say who I am, and when I'm done speaking, say I'm done speaking, because it's great for people that are hard of hearing and reading transcripts of the conversation if they're following along. So I will try my best at that. Roger's up next. Roger has been with us here in the Voice Den, both on Clubhouse and on the online show a number of times. And Roger, it is a pleasure as always to have you here. Why don't you take a moment, introduce yourself, and tell us what you're up to.
Hey, Terry. Hey, Ian. Long time no talk, huh? I think
this is me and Roger's 4th or 5th meeting today.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
Anyway, hey, Roger, Gibby, by day, I'm a developer evangelist for Samsung Bixby. So get people to build amazing conversational AI and voice applications on Bixby. But overall, I'm just a great voice enthusiast and wanted to wish happy Friday to everyone. I'm sitting actually down here in my garage, trying to get my garage home office back together again because my wife has been working in the office, but now she's going to be working at home again. So I get relegated to the garage. But anyway, what am I drinking? I am drinking, I am drinking water with exogenous ketones in it. So if you've ever done a keto diet, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, you probably don't know what I'm talking about. But that's my diet thing. But later on tonight, I'm going to crack open the Lagavulin Scotch because it's Friday night.
And also keto friendly.
True. Somebody else knows.
Roger, it's almost as though you need to drink some scotch tonight, if you know what I'm saying.
I always need to drink scotch.
I think there's a backstory there, but we won't get into that one right now. Good to have you here. By the way, as you're going through and as we're going through the stage here and you're interviewing yourself, that'd be funny. You're free to interview yourself as you're introducing yourself. It's been a long day. Feel free to also ask questions or make comments on anything that you may have on your mind with people on the stage here, or related to our topic at hand. Voice is my OS. Does that resonate with you in some way? Be happy to hear that as well.
Hey, can I jump in then and ask what I would like to hear? You can have the rest of it. I would love Brandon to tell me more about the NBA skill and what he's seeing professional sports and what they're doing with voice. Because I've been super surprised that we haven't seen more pro sports and voice together. And I was excited to see the new NBA skill and any thoughts he has on that. Because, passionate fan base. Why can't I talk to my favorite player? Why can't I talk to Steph Curry, right? The Steph Curry skill, so to speak. Anyway, you can answer that now or later, but that's one of the questions I had for Brandon.
Yeah, why don't you answer that now, Brandon, and then we'll move on. I promise we'll get to Adam, Emily, David, and Scott after that. But why don't you go ahead, Brandon?
Yeah, no problem. The MBA is a amazing client partner of ours. We've been working with them for a number of months now. They we started working with them. They had an existing skill that they wanted to refresh, and to be honest, kind of it's like some similar features as what we relaunched with them. And for anyone that's not familiar, we just relaunched the NBA Alexa skill last week. You can go in, you can check league scores, you can check league schedules, you can get fresh updates, and some of the stuff that we did to really refresh it was we added just a ton of new audio production. We're big proponents of pushing the creative production as much as you can, so we kind of upgraded a lot of the audio production. We swapped out pretty much every visual, and we used all the latest visual tools that are available, and then we input some features that we thought were really cool, that were the ability to set your home team or your favorite team. And when you come in to use the experience, instead of making you go through a bunch of menus and choices and turns of conversation, if we know your favorite team is the Miami Heat, we just welcome you in. We let you know what's up with the Heat, what their latest score was, what their next game is, what time it starts, and if you want us to notify you before it starts. So we're automating and we're making much faster some of the personal features. In full transparency, there's a whole bunch of other features that are slated to be done that, as anybody that's worked with like a large corporation knows, you kind of have to, what's the old adage, how do you eat an elephant? Bite by bite. So we're kind of, taking a bite by bite approach, and we launched this first wave. And I know the NBA is really interested in building out like a big, robust voice program that includes voice SEO and skills and actions and a whole bunch of really exciting things. I think they were a little busy last year, getting the rest of their organization organized around the change that's happened in the world. So really, really exciting to launch the experience with them. We can tell that there's an appetite there to build out some really exciting stuff. And this is kind of the foundation launch. But, it's super exciting to work with a company like that, because the creative possibilities are endless. And then you get to kind of delve into their tech stack and start to unpack it and figure out, well, okay, what can we do now? What can we do later? And there's a lot of really cool kind of road mapping and strategy involved. So that's like the longest short answer, but happy to answer any other questions that you might have.
Yeah, I was just going to say, more content than they probably know what to do with.
Yeah, there's a lot there. And like one of my favorite adages, I can't remember who said this. Somebody probably knows, but it's that when we think about technology, we tend to overestimate what we can achieve in the short term, and we underestimate what we can achieve in the long term. So, we're still in like the nascency of voice tech. You do what you can, you build the best possible thing you can, but the future of this is really exciting. So we're excited to start kind of connecting all those dots. It's fun to think about.
That's very, very cool. I'm very curious to see how this progresses over time. Fantastic. Amazing. Congrats on that, Brandon. That's incredible.
Yeah, thank you.
So can I ask a quick question, a follow-up question on the NBA?
You betcha.
This is Scott in Texas. Hello, everyone. It's in the 50s today in Texas, and this is not normal, but we'll live through it. So my follow-up question is, are they looking at miking up the players on the NBA court like they mic up the football players in the NFL? With hockey, it doesn't make sense at all because all you hear would be bone crashing against the walls. But in basketball, maybe they do. Maybe that would make sense. I don't know.
I think they do already. I think there is like a whole bunch of different mic'd up situations for the NBA, whether it's mics on the players or it's such a small format they can grab that audio. But we're not talking about from a voice experience perspective, tapping into like live mic'd up players, although I think that would be a cool feature. What's exciting about the NBA, I think, as you mentioned, is Roger or someone else's. There's just like an endless supply of possible content. And we've gotten to poke around a little bit into some of those asset libraries and it's kind of one of those things like we're kind of like a kid in a candy store and just waiting to see what features we may be able to unpack next. But yeah, tons of content to play with, and it's just a matter of kind of lining it up and figuring out where priorities are. But that's a great idea.
Thank you for that question, Roger. And Brent, yeah, again, this is really exciting. I'm thrilled with that. I personally am a big hockey fan, so I'm wondering when the NHL is going to do something like that. So we'll see. I'm waiting for that.
I'm sorry, Terry. All you would hear is, "Oh, God, that."
I have actually heard some funny mic'd up stuff. Not during games, but during some of the practices. And it's pretty funny actually when the players are kind of insulting each other, good-natured heckling when they miss a shot or something. It's actually pretty funny. So anyway, that's fantastic. All right, let's move along here. Adam, welcome to the stage. Welcome to the Voice Den. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here. Why don't you take a moment, introduce yourself, and tell us, and if you've got any particular questions or comments for anybody here, and also what you're drinking.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, everyone. I appreciate it. I am currently sipping on a nice Billet bourbon as I'm hiding down here in Lexington, Kentucky today. And I am a strategist, business operations, talent, sales engagement, client engagement kind of experts in all things tech and healthcare these days. So glad just to be here and glad to listen in.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you here. Next, we have Emily. Emily is a good friend now of the Voice Den. I know a little bit of her background now, a professional violinist, turning conversation designer, and it's a pleasure to have you here, Emily, as always. So why don't you take the stage?
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. I'm transitioning to conversation design. I just got involved with the Open Voice Network, and I also got involved recently with a startup called Piffle, which aims to bring wellness into the workspace through voice games. And it's currently in the Google Starter Accelerator program for voice AI right now. And I'll be composing and recording the title track for one of the games. So I'm super excited to be a part of the team. I actually did have a question. I was wondering if you think the rise of synthetic voice is gonna affect the work of voice actors. I know for musicians, synthetic sounds definitely opened up more avenues for creativity in terms of composition and what we can create. But it has, I think, directly contributed to a loss of jobs, especially for live music on Broadway or in the film industry, such as recording soundtracks for film scores. And I was wondering if anyone had any thoughts on that.
Well, that is so good. Yeah, Emerson, go ahead. That's such a good question. I've come across that question a number of times here on Clubhouse. Go ahead, Emerson.
Yes, obviously, if this is 100 years from now, the answer is definitely yes. Although there are lots of jobs that face existential threats from AI. In the immediate term, without a significant amount, sometimes even more than the amount that would be required to record it manually, without a significant amount of manual intervention, the synthetic audio does not provide a great user experience. At my previous job and Google Startup Accelerator Represent, nice to see you on here. At my previous job at Applause, Ingrid Bleeker, who still heads up the voice and AI practice there after I left, we did a bunch of studies to see what are the characteristics of synthetic versus human voices and how do people rate them differently. And there are some areas, this was 2 years ago, there's some areas even then that people rated synthetic higher, like seeming like they're knowledgeable. Whereas there are some areas like seeming like they're trustworthy or friendly, where people consistently rate them much lower. So I don't think in the immediate term that's something to worry about. But then on the flip side, I have one of my good friends has a Bachelor of Fine Arts in theater, and he is not a technical person at all. He's a voice enthusiast, but he's a wizard with SSML. He's a wizard with tuning synthetic speech and sound to make it lifelike, to make it incredible. And the things that he picks up from his classical acting background are things that I would never think about, even spending every day the last several years eating, sleeping, and breathing voice. So I do think there are some use cases where perhaps it's less expensive, but I think in the immediate term, certainly it is. In the majority of use cases, it is not, synthetic voice is not more effective at building a good user experience than recorded human voice.
Sorry, go ahead, Nigel.
Could I chime in on this from a more of a layperson's perspective? I've seen some of the stats from like Brett Kinsella and voicebot.ai, and just heard different things. I truly believe that a well-written skill that provides good storytelling, there's not going to be that. There's going to be some, but I don't believe there's going to be that much of a trade-off, because I think if you bring people into the present and you're telling a good story, I think you will get them. Where I feel that a lot of this technology falls short is, and Gary Vee talked about this in his Marketing for the Now yesterday, that people are so, like corporations particularly, are so interested in the short-term gains of, like, for instance, numerous chatbots, which is kind of intertwines. They're always trying to ransom a phone number or a text message. And before anything else, no matter how good your skill is behind you, if you are standing there with basically a knife at my neck and saying, give me your phone number, give me your email without, before I even get to it, it doesn't matter, the experience is horrible. But if you tell a great story in a voice that sounds familiar, there was another stat, like in Gary Vee's Marketing for the Now, where someone from Oracle talked about the fact that I think it was like 60-something% of people would rather talk to a bot than their boss. So I think that statistic kind of was interesting to feel that contrast. But those are my thoughts. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm Nigel.
That's great. I'm curious. Okay, go ahead, Brandon. Go ahead. And I'm also curious to see if Heidi, if you have any any thoughts on that? Or you came off mic. Heidi, do you wanna just?
Yeah, Heidi, go ahead.
I have a couple thoughts. I always have a couple thoughts. So, couple things. I think as larger entities, larger brands start to go all in on voice experiences, we will see an uptick for voice actors. But I mentor for a conversation design course. I happen to have a dozen voice actors who are learning about conversation design, and them having that new understanding is allowing them to uncover some voice actor opportunities they would not have known to look for or recognize were being put in front of them. So Emily, I know the pandemic affected everyone. I know, especially for musicians, I do believe that from a budgeting perspective, it's easier to use a synthetic voice than pay for a voice actor, especially if you're going to iterate. But I do believe that there's huge opportunity for voice actors. And it's really just educating on what the market is. So that's it. I am finished speaking.
Yeah, just a quick note or an anecdote. We ran a study on this that's kind of related, but we ran a study to see if people were more sensitive to synthetic voices or human voices. So we took a handful of different experiences that we've made and we put them through surveys and seeing how did people respond to the content if it was a Alexa's voice or a Google Assistant voice versus the voiceover actress or actor that we'd used. And we found that people in short form content didn't really matter. They were happy to accept either a bot or a human's voice. But the longer the content got, the more sensitive exponentially people were to the quality of the audio and the quality of the voice. So for us, we're generally making a little bit longer of experiences. We're always focused on, I'd say there's probably not a single experience we make now that doesn't use a real voice and music beds and sound effects and mixing it in very intentional ways, because we find that the longer the experience, the quality of the audio, as Nigel mentioned, is what draws people in. The quality of the storytelling, the quality of the experience, and the sonic identity can be a really big part of drawing people in and delivering that experience. And then just a quick anecdote on like the short term versus the long term. Because we work with some media clients, we've actually brought them the option and said, hey, we found this voiceover actress, the contract for this size of a media initiative is this. But to get the synthetic version of that voice would cost X to produce it. Here's the annual license fee to store it, but it would cost to update it. And we've actually found in the short term that using a human's voice is actually more cost effective by doing, one production run and then maybe a couple pickup sessions and some iterative production. In the long term, I do see the synthetic voice being a lot less expensive once you figure out rights of use and, can I license your voice and make it synthetic, and do I pay you a royalty? But we really lean heavily on quality of human voice because there's different tone we need in experiences. So it's an interesting wrestling match, but quality of audio in a longer format experience is really, really important right now.
I'm sorry, Terry. Can I just say one thing? Brandon, that was awesome. I am so super happy. If you don't mind, I would love to tap in with you and just kind of explore that a little bit and just and hear a little bit more about what you've experienced, because I thought what you just said was perfect.
Yeah, sure.
Just
reach out.
Just to add one quick thing, do you think that there's a delta between a synthetic voice and the average person who's not traditionally trained as a voice actor but can provide that experience? Do you think that there's a bridge there to kind of find a happy medium?
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I think like synthetic voices are just kind of, under the companies that are available now, they're awkward. And I think that subconsciously we pick up on the awkwardness. You could ask anybody on the street to do a voiceover recording and they may not be professional, but it'll at least feel like a human's voice. I think if you went to like the lowest possible quality, literally grab someone off the street and throw them in front of a microphone, and then the highest possible quality synthetic voice, you might be looking at a draw. but we just have a lot more creative flexibility right now. I mean, there's nothing right now beats a 2-hour produced session where you can direct somebody and help them give you 5 different takes on tone and intonation. There's only so much you can do with SSML markup and things like that. So, on the low end, maybe it's a push, but on the high end, you just can't beat really good audio production right now.
I would say also like the quality of the beyond somebody's particular talent or desire to contribute their own voice, the quality of the recording makes a huge difference. I mean, think about the quality of the people that I'm sure everybody here spends 10 hours a day talking to on Zoom and Hangouts. You could have somebody who who enunciates very well, has very, very pleasant tone, but using a microphone headset, using their webcam microphone is definitely going to detract from the experience over something like one of the smart speakers.
Yeah,
I was going to just jump in and say, I think the problem with synthetic voices is they're pretty flat and emotionless, right? They don't understand what the AI has no understanding of what it's talking about, right? Whereas a human, if they understand the context, can put that emotion in there. And yeah, Emerson, you're absolutely right. Like really skilled SSML, you can do some pretty cool stuff. There's pretty high effort really to get that right? I wouldn't be surprised if you get up it might be cheaper to use a voice actor, or in high quality voices, as Brandon is talking about, are quite expensive to license. So until the AI is good enough to really understand what it's saying, I feel like the human voice actor has a huge advantage there, but we'll see.
Thank you, everybody, for sharing. And Audrey, I was just going to read a quote from you, and then I'll hand it over to you. And I also want to recognize that we have a handful of friends on the stage that haven't had a chance to introduce themselves. For instance, Lee is on the stage. The last time Lee jumped into a room with me, she spoke for a few minutes and 40 people followed her. I think the room only had like 50 people in it. So you can imagine my anticipation for having Lee be able to participate in the conversation. But I was about to read a quote from you, Audrey, and a few other folks. Tonight's focus is Voice is My OS. And so I pulled up a handful of Voice is My OS official quotes that Terry made collectible cards for. So Audrey said, Voice is my OS because my voice conveys my meaning better when my emotion can be heard. Landry Woolworth, my CTO, he said, Voice is my OS because it is the future. Noel Silver said, Voice is my OS because being an advocate for inclusion and accessibility means giving everyone a voice. And finally, Terry Fisher, our host and the innovator around having us all share Voice is my OS quotes. Terry said, Voice is my OS because speaking is the most natural way I know how to communicate. Audrey, take it away. I didn't mean to cut you off. I just wanted to read that, remind everybody that, that's a big part of what we're focused on today. And I also want to recognize that we have other folks on stage that I'd love to hear from after Audrey has a chance to share.
Yeah, and I'll make it really brief. Hi, Heidi. I do a lot of work. I do sonic branding, but I for a lot of very high profile brands, and I do a lot of voice branding. And I've done projects where the recordings for those voices to be made took 8 weeks. Okay. And people are doing things that take a couple hours, and no, they're not going to sound the same. But maybe they don't have that $1 million budget or whatever. So for now, they will suffice. Interestingly, and exactly what I said, the emotion is lacking. And so that's where the difference lies. So in answer to your question, and I work in all different fields of sonic branding, as far as synthetic voices go, I think when they get the emotional part down and they get where they sound more natural, they will become a lot closer. But I still think people will use them where they can. But interestingly, recently, I've had not one, which was last week, but two very big brands doing very big initiatives with, they want their own real proprietary voice. I also think we've been recutting voices, we've been recasting voices because of the times we live in now. The voices could be questionable to some people. So we've been recasting. I think anything that's short, you're always going to be in the favorable in demand. I think anything that's very long form, that gets a little tricky because you only have one voice to use there, and that's your own, because you're not going to sustain it for 2 months. And I think that there's lots of opportunities where the voice actors, I know I'm using them. I just did 3 projects and all of them were live voices. So I think that it took a little hit, but I think on the shorter projects, it will be just fine. That's my opinion.
That's great. This is such a thought-provoking topic that I have planned a room actually next Thursday, so 6 days from now, at this time, 4:30, specifically to talk about the intersection of voice technology, voiceover artists, synthetic voice. And so, Emily, it's a great question. As I said, I've heard this question so many times, and that's why I'm doing that room. Leslie Chambers has agreed to join me. She's sort of at that intersection of voiceover artists and voice tech. Brandon, with your experience working directly with the clients, if you want to join us for that panel, then just let me know. It'll be next Thursday at 4:30 Pacific. And actually, for that matter, anybody else, if you want to be part of that discussion, just let me know, because this is a huge topic. I want to bring in some voiceover artists as well. I know that I know it's going to be a contentious issue for them because they do feel like their livelihood is at stake here. So there may be some interesting questions that come out of that room, but nevertheless, it's a really important topic. So next Thursday at 4:30. Okay, but I'd like to move on because I want to introduce other friends here that are on the stage. Just briefly again, wow, time is flying by here. So it's 5:10 my time. So in 20 minutes, we got another 20 minutes left of the happy hour voice. Keep in mind, if you're up on this, we are recording, we're streaming this through Attention Live. And anybody in the room can grab one of the NFTs that we've created for this room by going to thevoiceden.club and putting in the secret code word Friday for today. Okay, with that, David, welcome back to the Voice Den. Great to have you here. I'd love for you to introduce yourself. Maybe you can tell us what you're drinking as well.
Thank you so much, Terry. Happy Friday, everyone. Always great to be here. I've been learning in this room a lot. I'm also transitioning to conversational design from the cruise ship industry. Actually, I'm not drinking nothing special right now, just finished working, so I'm having a coffee. But I wanted to ask a question for Ian regarding his Attention Live white paper. And I read it, and I think it's very interesting because it's very well written, and I think it gave as well some good food for thought. My question was mostly regarding the SEO. And I know you explained how centralized interface are creating a winner takes it all with the SEO. I also understood that you were saying that voice as an interface might be able to overcome this barrier by reducing costs associated. So my question is basically, don't you think that with the voice evolving, another kind of SEO method just might pop up, and basically we are going back to square one?
That's a great question. I'm going to answer that question. I'm going to say one thing about you, David, for everybody in the room, because there's a lot of really important people in the voice industry here. Everybody lean in for just 15 seconds and hear what I have to say about David. David speaks 5 languages. David is a director of operations for a massive cruise line. He used to be the director of security. David's looking to break into the voice tech industry, the conversational AI industry, and Brandon, Emerson, Heidi, Roger, Audrey, and the rest. I'm talking to you. I think David's a pretty phenomenal potential asset. As a contractor in your organization, I would click on his face. I would get in touch with him if you have any sort of project that you could bring in a person that's trustworthy, that runs security, that knows how to get shit done, that runs operations, and that can speak multiple languages. Just saying. Okay, David, to your question. You asked about SEO. So I would say that search engine optimization is part of a centralized system where companies that want people's attention to influence them to buy their services and products will spend money to hire people to spend time to get your attention by optimizing what a search engine shows you, whether that's Google, the #1 search engine, or YouTube, the #2 search engine, or any search engine, Bing or Facebook search, etc. I believe in the next decade, because voice will be the interface, because we'll be speaking to machine learning algorithms, they'll be speaking back to us in a way that makes sense. We're going to go to a more decentralized infrastructure. Therefore, you will find things like the Brave browser. The Brave browser is a competitor to DuckDuckGo or Firefox or Safari in that the Brave browser compensates the consumer for their attention. So instead of the advertiser giving all the money to Brave, the advertiser gives the money to Brave, and Brave shares some of that money that comes from the advertiser to the consumer. You see, they are decentralizing the whole infrastructure. Now you add voice as a layer and you think to yourself, what happens when instead of a company spending money on marketing to basically optimize for search, the consumers, the power's in their hands because everything is tied together as decentralized, autonomous communities. And so I think we have a top-down model where the corporation with the most money decides what the consumer sees. And I think we're going to have an inverted model where the consumers have the power. Those that use the platforms have the power, and they will be the ones that decide what they want to be optimized to them. Now, the whole entire thing of searchability is broken right now, but just because it is broken today does not mean it's not being fixed actively, and does not mean that in the next 18 to 81 months that we as users of voice tech will not have a better experience finding what we're looking for by using our voice and by being tied to machine learning that knows what we want, how we want it, when we want it, and starts to give us what it is that we are looking for. That is my kind of more futuristic vision casting answer to your question. Otherwise, I don't really know how to answer your question for today because the whole entire thing is broken and screwed up and it needs to be transitioned. For instance, we are on a bridge today from the way things were, which was not best for humanity, not best for consumers, not best for the population. And now we're on a bridge moving toward the way things should be, which is going to be best for humans, right? To get them what they're looking for, what they want, when they want it, how they want it, by allowing people to speak to tech, tech to speak to people, rather than us using thumbs on a glass and fingers on a keyboard. I'm done speaking. This is Ian. I hope I answered your question, David, and I hope that the folks I shared about your potential of helping them might be beneficial to you and to them.
Thank you so much, Ian. I really appreciate you so much also for the answer.
Wonderful. Thank you, David. I just want to be, I'm just aware of the number of people that we still want to get to up here on stage, so I'm going to move along. Scott, I know you spoke earlier. I don't know if you really introduced yourself, but if you have anything else to add, that would be wonderful.
I do have a question, so I'll just real quickly say I'm a real estate agent in Texas. I do use voice technology in my education and in my business 24/7. So this question is going to sound really off kilter, but stay with me on it. So listen to the names of the individuals that I give you first, and then let me go into this. Shania Twain, Nick Nolte, Chris Walken, Rutger Hauer, Val Kilmer, Jeremy Irons, Anthony Hopkins. Most of the names I just said have had some kind of something happen to their voice along the way. Shania Twain almost lost her career completely. Val Kilmer had a very debilitating throat illness and several surgeries. And so their voices are not what they used to be. And Shania's come back some, but I don't know that Val's ever going to be Val again. Is there somebody that is working on, or is this something that somebody can see going forward as we record and get an audio bank when they're young, middle age, older age, because I think Anthony Hopkins just aged beautifully in time, and so has Malcolm McDowell, from Clockwork Orange to his current work. Is that something, because not only do our bodies age, and Hugh Hefner would say, I'm not going to take a picture of you from the older generation per se, because that's not what sells magazines. But in this case, we're talking voices. So some voices age like a fine wine, and others, unfortunately, have horrible things happen and they fall off. And I'll listen to hear what you guys have to say.
That's a great question. And I can just, I can tell you that we had Rupal Patel on in the voice stand here the other day. Her company, Vocal ID, that was the origin of her company, was to be able to essentially create a synthetic voice for somebody that was going to lose their voice due to illness. And then she was able to create that synthetic voice. And so that person could have their own voice, even when they didn't truly have a voice. And it wasn't a generic sort of synthesized voice like we've all become very familiar with from like Stephen Hawking. So, so I'm not sure that directly answers your question, but that kind of work is being done. Yes.
I was more going down the road of posterity and being able to continue to have, Samuel L. Jackson on my Echo device and things like that, posthumously. I know I said that.
Does anybody want to comment on that aspect?
Well, I'll just say this. We can go back to what was recorded of these actors that you're talking about and put things together. How well can it be done right now? It's questionable. How well can it be done in the future? Pretty amazing. I think the idea of having celebrity voices that we have access to, like Samuel L. Jackson replacing Alexa's voice, like that's kind of interesting to me. But I'll tell you what's really interesting to me. What's really interesting to me is when grandma loses grandpa, and you can have grandpa's voice talk to grandma as she's getting dementia and Alzheimer's to tell her what's going on when she just got woken up, right? You know how freaking scary it is for grandma to wake up and wonder who the hell her daughter is or who her son or grandson is? Do you have any idea what it means for a child and a grandchild to not have their grandparent know who they are? And every time they see them, they flip out. Now imagine grandparent has their spouse that's gone, their voice on the voice device, waking them up and saying, honey, I know you're scared. You're scared every morning. And no, I'm not here by your side. But you hear my voice, right, hon? Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to put your favorite album on. I'm going to show you photos of your daughter. This is Becky. Becky's going to come in 10 minutes. She's going to bring you your favorite drink, your favorite food, your favorite thing. You have 4 grandchildren, 24 great-great-grandchildren and grandchildren, great-grandchildren, okay? They come visit you. You may not recognize them, but you know my voice, right, hon? Now, this is the type of thing that we really, really, really need to press into, because this is the type of vision that people will do anything to make happen. And when it comes to like getting excited about Samuel Jackson's voice, I get it. Like we have this fascination with celebrity. But when it comes to helping the end of life be better for those that have given almost a century to this planet, almost a century to the productivity of our humanity, almost a century to our family legacy, that is really worth pressing into, in my opinion. This is Ian, and I'm done speaking.
Amen.
Yeah, I bet Adam Shaner would have a lot to add to that.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's an amazing vision. That truly is. Yeah, incredible. I don't know what else to say about that. I would like to move along, just for the sake of time here. I know we do try very hard to keep this within an hour, and that doesn't leave us a whole lot of time. I promise we'll get to everybody here on the stage. So with that being said, Jeff, welcome to the Voice Stand. It is a pleasure to have you here as well. I'm just looking at your bio. Oh my goodness, you've done a lot of stuff. Well, yeah, do take it away. Jeff. Please tell us a little bit about you and what you're drinking.
4 Sigmatic mushroom coffee with lion's mane. I'm old and I need the attention boost.
Well, welcome.
Yes. Hey, I love what you are doing, and thanks to Ian for inviting me in. Real quick, don't let your mind go there, even though you can't help it. Tom Arnold was the voice of Hardy's, what was it, a mitten? How many remember that a few years ago? Tremendous actor, I think. But when I think of voice as my OS, I think of Siri. Okay, from what I understand, Siri was built with real voice. So as Brandon was talking earlier, the power of the real human voice actor, I don't think can be rivaled. I haven't heard anything that rivals it yet today, but maybe I'm not old enough. So, hey, glad to be here, and thanks for having me.
Pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. You're always welcome here. So great. Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Lee, Ian, why don't I let you introduce Lee?
Well, Lee's a mentor to me. I would basically drive and fly and paddle a boat if I could get access to Lee. The fact that she's jumping on stage to share with us is a real gift to all of us. Lee, welcome to the stage. I'm excited to listen when you speak.
Well, thanks. No pressure to say anything that matters, right? Thank you so much, Ian. That was very gracious of you. No, I'm just sitting here listening. This is a great room. It's always a great room, and there's always so many intelligent people. I've been really soaking up what you have to say, actually, with my 13-year-old in the car with me. And, he is interesting to watch because his school was very forward with iPad and voice very early on. And so when the pandemic hit, they just sent the kids home because all of their textbooks were already digitized and everything like that. And I watch him during the day, doing school now that he's home at least half time now. And he's constantly interacting with Siri. I mean, it's amazing to me the level of use that he gets out of Siri, and that is just natural to him. And I was thinking a lot about what you guys were saying with synthetic voice. And, I've been in digital for 25 years. And so I've worked a lot in AR and VR. And in the early days of e-commerce, when I was a pioneer, a lot of the things we wanted to do with the interfaces we had, we could come up with a concept, but the platforms couldn't execute the design ideas that we had. And in a way, VR was kind of there about 5 years ago. We're getting really, really good now in VR at kind of crossing the uncanny valley. And pretty soon we're going to have pretty realistic human representations at a scale where, it'll be very difficult to tell the deep fake from the human. And I think voice will end up there too. And I agree, Ian, wholeheartedly with what you're saying about, aging at home and the application of voice and aging at home, because I believe that it's going to make technology so much more accessible to the elderly. And I think that's so important, especially for people who tend to feel more isolated the older they get. And so intelligent agents with even voices that they recognize, I think are going to be really, really important. And I do think that we will get, as you said, to a place where we start to cross that uncanny valley with deepfakes for audio too. And that's a blessing and a curse, right? Because, we're all talking on a platform where, our voices are being captured and can be used for all kinds of purposes. So it's a really awesome place to be. And I think that, I mentioned this in the last room that we had, but I think one of the most important things for us all to do is to begin to consider, the ethical ramifications of how we're going to use voice and whether or not there's going to be some kind of watermarking to distinguish a live audio track, a real one versus something that's, synthetic. Maybe some kind of audio bug or something that would tell someone that this is actually a real person versus a synthetic voice. So it'll be interesting to see what happens as time unfolds and how we'll navigate the real versus the fake. And that's about all I have to offer for now. I know we're short on time. I want to make room for everybody else on stage. Thanks for having me. It's really a blast.
Wonderful, Lee. Thank you. Excuse me. The ethical implications obviously are so critical. And I know that there's some good work being done. Emily mentioned the Open Voice Network. So that's it's so great that John Stein is leading that up and they're doing some great work there. So really important discussions to continue to have. Bahubali, losing my voice. But hopefully, speaking of voice, always a pleasure to have you in the Voice Den. Welcome, my friend. Why don't you introduce yourself as well?
Hey, Terry. Hey, and everybody here. It's such a familiar room. Always feel like I'm back in with friends. This is a great place. Always look forward to this Voice Den happy hour. Perfect timing for me. End of the week. 8 o'clock Eastern time. Great timing. Anyway, I just wanted to say that, okay, let me introduce myself for those who don't know me. We create a voice solution on Amazon Alexa and Google Home. We help the consumers in the kitchen, right from their dinner dilemma to planning their meals, planning their grocery, or cooking their meals with step-by-step instructions. The point which Ian made about being able to record somebody's grandpa's voice, grandma's voice is something which has touched us as well. And we have a feature on our platform wherein we will be some of the users are already using it, wherein I could actually record the voice of my mom talking about a recipe, and then have that and add it to my digital recipe box, and then imagine the value of that when I can play it back to my kids sometime down the line when my mom is not available. So those are the things which has been really touching for me, and I believe that's going to be so valuable even down the line. And I'm sure one of my friend lost his mom, and he was like, why didn't you do this when my mom was there? And I'm still thinking that we can go back and take her voice and then create a synthetic voice and play it back to him about those.
That is amazing. Sorry, somebody was going to chime in there. Who was that there? Oh, maybe not. Oh, go ahead, Roger.
Oh, I was just going to say, talking about voices from people who passed away, that's, what's his, James Blahouse? I'm forgetting the name of his company. But that's a whole... Hereafter. And Hereafter, yeah. So, brief comment, but if you're interested in that, check out here.
Sure, thanks for that.
Sorry about that. Is that the same organization that... There's a big Hollywood cemetery, and I think that the provider that's doing this is doing this, internationally, where have the audio video it's not a eulogy, it's kind of like the biography of people at different grave sites. So you can go to someone's grave and actually speak to them, and there's limited conversational capabilities, but I remember reading about something about that a few years ago. I don't know if anybody here knows anything about it, but I love the idea of, hey Siri, give me my mom's cornbread recipe, because my mom's a deep South cornbread woman. And to have her read that off in her own voice for her grandkids would be so amazing. I love that idea.
Yeah, you should check out Hereafter. Just as Roger was saying, James Blahouse.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with that? Because that's what he's getting the story, getting people's stories, their biographies in their own voice, so that people can then go back and ask those sorts of things. So it's incredible.
Yeah, I think that's amazing.
I definitely resonate with that. And Ian, the story you gave just never gets old. I literally was talking to my mom, who's 85 last night, speaking to her about, could you imagine in, your great grandchildren having you read a story to them? Technology won't be around while you're still around, but being able, knowing that it can exist, being prepared for it now by recording those things, and your great grandchildren can be sitting in bed and say, hey, I want to hear The Prodigal Son read by my grandma, my great grandma, and have that happen.
And Nigel,
alive or passed on, incredible, I think.
This is the time to do it. My grandma died a couple of years ago at 99 and a half. She was too vain to die at 100 because she didn't want to be seen at a birthday party with part of her teeth missing. And about 6 months before she died, a friend in the neighborhood brought his granddaughter over to interview her about what it was like growing up in the Great Depression. And at the funeral, they brought me a CD with this video of her talking, and she said things I'd never heard. And she brought out, oh, we used to make our own dresses, and we used to build them out, make them out of flour sacks, and go over in that drawer over there and pull open that drawer, and you'll see Indian head pennies on a piece of cotton. That was one of those flour sacks, and she was doing this. And I just thought, I'm going to just immortalize this. And so whether it's the voice of your baby talking and some of those awesome baby talk things that come out, or, the legacy that's being passed down from an elder, capturing that and being able to share that for generations to come is such a beautiful thing.
I can't agree more. I just have to say this. I know we're taking up time, but I would love to tap in with you and just have that conversation, because I visited my grandmother 6 months before she passed, and she was 96, and I am ever grateful for that moment. The stories they tell can only be told by them in the human way that we know it.
That's
no
so
joke.
so good.
Hindsight's 2020, isn't
Yep.
it?
So Wendy, yeah, absolutely. Wendy, please jump in. Introduce yourself. I got to meet you, Wendy, about a decade ago, and it's so good to have you.
By the way, everyone, thanks for having me, Terry and Ian, and it's nice to see you guys around. I'm not drinking anything. I'm actually sitting in front of my, editing a podcast. Anyway, so what I do, because I love audio so much, and I love doing voice acting and everything else, what I do when I see my 92-year-old father is I set my phone down and I put it on voice record, and I'm recording for hours sometimes when I'm sitting there just talking to him, and he has no idea he's being recorded, right? And sometimes, as they're getting much older, people do start to talk about, and more so, he's getting very old, worry about their legacy. And so they start talking more about their lives. And audio is such a wonderful medium. It's so flexible. You can do so many things with it. It's so easy to work with that if we all don't start capturing audio, like you guys said, we're crazy, because it is so easy to capture. You know what I mean? But I love this conversation, and thank you for having me up. I just wanted to jump in.
We're so glad to have you. Paul, will you jump in and introduce yourself? Then Armel, and then one of the most well-known people in the voice industry, Braden, is in the room wearing his mask. Paul, jump in and say hello, please.
Hey, just want to say hi to everybody. I'm Paul. I'm on the Alexa team. It's so cool to be here with all you. Check out the Voice Den. I was thinking about a hackathon that I did years ago. I think it was 2018 or something like that. And it was a bunch of agencies got together to do a hackathon for good. And the team that inspired me the most, the one that was recording sounds from, I wish I could remember the community. There was a community in Southern Africa that was basically going extinct because all of the people were leaving the town in order to go to school and to find other opportunities. And so the town was just aging. And so they went into there and they started recording voices of all of the elders of this town, so that the people who were traveling could reflect back on their culture and their families and so forth like that, and then remember to come back and bring that and keep that culture alive. It was really powerful, and it was very much around capturing their voices and their stories very directly. It's a very cool kind of thing. So it's a fun topic.
That's really cool, Paul. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm hearing so much interest in this. I want to come to you, Armel, and I want to come to Braden before we close out the room. But I'm sort of jotting notes down here. I think I'm gonna organize a room in the Voice Den specifically on voice and legacy, and what that means. And so, if anybody would like to be part of that discussion as well, next Thursday is already reserved for voice and sort of voiceover and synthetic voice. But maybe the following Thursday, or I'll think about that. What does that mean for?
Yeah, we should do it on April.
So
yeah,
please let me know if you're interested in that.
We should do it on April 1st.
Awesome, Terry, that's awesome subject.
Terry, we should wait.
And all of that.
Terry, we should do it on April 1st. We should come up with some sort of crazy, ridiculous April Fool's press release that will draw people to come to it. Somebody's got to think of a crazy, epic press release that's just completely asinine, but kind of believable, to try to get a bunch of energy to come to our Clubhouse room on April 1st. Armel, the stage is yours, my friend. Jump in and introduce yourself, please.
Armel, are you there? Floor is yours, buddy. Nope. Maybe not.
Okay, Braden, please jump in and say hello. And we're happy to have you here, Braden. Thanks for jumping on stage with us.
Yeah, happy to be here. So I'm just cranking through Friday night emails. So certainly a bit tired at the moment. So nothing insightful to say, but happy to listen along.
Well, we're glad to have you
Always
here with
great
us.
to have you.
Armel, if you're back, let us know. Otherwise, Terry, I'm gonna say a couple final parting thoughts. You can scroll down and pull down. You'll see my picture changed from gold to silver. We have 2 NFTs we've created. Okay. There's a gold NFT for the 5 moderators. There's a silver NFT for everybody else. The NFT is a one-of-one crypto collectible on the Ethereum blockchain that we make at Attention Live to basically say thank you for being here. Thank you for engaging with us. This session is being recorded. We're live broadcasting this to Amazon's Lexi devices. We're live broadcasting this to YouTube. We create the NFT as a kind of a memento of what it was. All you have to do so that we can send you the NFT is go to thevoiceden.club, thevoiceden.club, so that we can send it to you. Terry, I'm assuming now is the time for you to play that music and close this room down because nobody's ever going to want it to stop. We might as well leave them wanting. Everybody will be back on Monday at 4:30 Pacific Standard Time. We do this every Monday, every Wednesday, every Friday, and we're so glad to do it with you.
That was the wrong sound effect. That was hilarious. All right, let's try that again, shall we? This is live, folks. This is live.
Was it wah, wah, wah?
Yeah, I got that one. All right. What I do want to tell you is next week is a big week. We're doing this again on Monday at 4:30. On Wednesday, I'll tell you right now, Wednesday, we're taking a break from Clubhouse because it is the online version of the Voice Den with 5 new voice influencers. That's happening at 5 o'clock Pacific. And to reserve your free seat, I should give a shout out as well. Paul is still here. Thank you to the Alexa team and to Google for sponsoring the Voice Den. They've been their sponsors for this whole entire year. So thank you. You can get your seat then at thevoiceden.com as opposed to thevoiceden.club where you go to get your NFT. And that will be Wednesday. But we'll see you again Monday for the Voice Den here on Clubhouse. So thanks everybody for coming. Thank you to our guests, our moderators, and everybody in the room. Thanks so much, guys. Have a wonderful
Thank you,
day,
everybody.
evening, etc.
So fun to spend time with you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.